Hi, welcome to Around the Kitchen Table. I'm Mari Martin and this is my beautiful friend Trisha, who
Hi.
today I've asked her to come on and talk to us about anxiety. Just that's the topic for today. So I want to do a series of videos with different topics and themes, whatever it is that you would like to help. You can comment or add what the theme you would like it to be. And again, I'm just really grateful that Trisha's agreed to do this because she's one of the most remarkable people I've ever met. She's a spiritual director and a mother of 8 children, and just how she got to her journey is incredible. I met her here in America, and her background versus my background. So we've got different cultures, American, Irish. We've also got she's from the Protestant community and from a Catholic community, and it sounds like we've a lot of differences. But what we found by sitting down together and talking, there's a lot more in common than we realized. And that some of our issues as women is universal and not just contained to, dairy or here, that it's we're all going through the same stuff. So just a platform where women can share their stories and their journey and hopefully help. Mm-hmm. So could you give me and the girls a bit of a background as to what your journey was with anxiety and things that you learned from it?
I think you bring up a really good point about the differences, but the similarities of women. In all of my travels, and I know you're really well traveled, I'm sure you've seen how for women, a lot of us, and you've talked a little bit about in Ireland, like we are supposed to be able to do it all, all, and look good, and our brows look good, and our hair look good. Yes, and we're supposed to do all the things, be the perfect partner and businesswoman and domesticated person and mother and daughter and sister. We're supposed to be able to do all of that really well. So it's not, and nowadays we don't have the same support system that even our grandparents in America did, where you could hire people to help and you're doing it all on your own. You're expected to do it all on your own. So I think
kind of shamed if you were to get a cleaner in or to get someone to help you with your baby. It's like, can you not do it on your own?
Especially if you had someone. So now we are experiencing here in America, people having to realize with all of this pressure is also, if you apply that amount of pressure, you're also getting a result. And for me, that was anxiety. Now, it wasn't just that I was trying to be the perfect mom and the perfect spouse. Although I definitely was trying to do all of that. I was trying to prove that I was going to be
proving that self-worth.
Yeah, and I'm strong enough and I don't need any help. And also I was uneducated about anxiety. So so I feel like we see that all over the world now.
I would say in our culture, when I came here and I was speaking to a lot of the girls around the table, and they're like, well, my therapist said this and my therapist said that. And I'm like, wait a minute, does everybody here have a therapist?
I remember.
And I was just like it was just so mind-blowing to think, you go to therapy for what? Just talk about our feelings, our struggles, and I'm all, no, in Ireland, you just you get up and you get on with it and you suck it up and you snap out of it and you just get your shit together and keep it together. And that idea, you're talking about strong women, women in dairy are just renowned to be really strong and really independent and really remarkable women. But what saddens me is that idea of having to keep it all together causes a level of stress on our bodies that we're not supposed to have. And it can cause difficulty even for conceiving babies, and especially difficulty in relationship. If you become the man in your relationship, what does that look like, or what does that feel, for your partner? So it's really important for me on the journey that women return to our true essence, our true identity, and knowing that we're enough, knowing that we don't have to just do it all with excellence and at this high level. Just that you were saying, you were trying to prove yourself.
Yeah. And at some point, you can do that. We have all done that. You can keep doing it, but at some point you're going to run out and it's not healthy. So we can all do unhealthy behaviors for who knows? No one knows when the end of an unhealthy behavior is going to happen. But
generally with an illness,
definitely.
A lot of the time with an illness, our bodies will stop us.
That's the truth.
something will stop you in your track, or a panic attack or anxiety.
Right.
Stop
So
you.
that's
your body telling you, slow down or wait a minute.
Yeah, it's an invitation, like it's not the greatest of invitations. I'd much rather get a nice gold one, but this is an invitation. And so for me, I know there was a turning point when I lived out in the middle of America, and I was away from my family, and I had 2 small babies at the time, and I was trying to be all the things, and I was liquefying inside. I was terrified inside, and I hadn't been raised that you are allowed to be any of those things. So I didn't know what to do with that. What do you do when you've been told you're not allowed to be weak? You're not allowed to be afraid this bad. You're not allowed to break down. And I'm having all of those things. What are your options when you have all of those things happening? Well, it was burbling out in anxiety over and over again. And I didn't know who to talk to. It wasn't as talked about as it is now. I talk about it with everyone. So I'm like pulling the lids off of any bit of shame that people could possibly have about this all the time, because it has in some ways prompted me to become a spiritual director. I'm a hypnotherapist. I strive to be able to free people from these things that are holding them back, because for me, anxiety was definitely a symptom of running from issues that I hadn't dealt with. Whether it's trauma for some people, abusive relationships, abusive childhoods, and trauma can look like anything. I mean, one person's trauma may mean nothing to another person, but
it's real for you.
It's real for you. It's real for you. Like what's happening within you is
that's
everything.
The other thing. It's tuning into your body and your experience, because it's easy to look around and think, well, they've got worse problems than me. I'm not entitled to complain today, or I'm not entitled to feel like per me, or it's a hard knock life. And it's not even that's what we're saying, but to allow yourself to tune into your body and say that if something doesn't feel right, then it's not right for you. And that you are allowed to feel that, and you are allowed to kind of search within yourself and find out what is it that's happening in me, and not comparing yourself to other people. Comparison is a thief of joy. And you can look around and think, well, they've got it together, so I need to get it together. Yeah.
And that's a really good point, because think about nowadays, and I don't know if this is in Ireland, but in America, everybody's got a food allergy nowadays. Some people can't have gluten. Some people can't have meat or this or mushrooms or peanuts or whatever. And I mean, sure, there's a little bit of scoffing about it, but in the long run, we're like, yeah, you can't have mushrooms, or you can't have gluten. And we just carry on. That's because our bodies are all built differently. So again, circling back, what was trauma for you, and you feel like it wasn't as big of a deal because, the girl down the street had X, Y, and Z happen to her, and you feel like you can't address your trauma because no, stop all of that. I give you permission, and I know this coach right here would do the same thing. Give you permission, feel your feelings. Because the anxiety is coming from not having dealt with those issues. And also, there's no shame in not having dealt with it before now. You weren't this person.
Yeah.
You weren't this person watching this video right now knowing, son of a gun, I've experienced this, or my friend experienced this. And the key is talking about it.
Yeah, and if I love what you just said there now, that the anxiety is an invitation, and imagine we can embrace it like that. And if that's hard, just embrace this video as an invitation to have some self-care and not be afraid to reach out. Either just get a great friend, you could get a coach if you want, you could get a counselor, a therapist, whatever it is, but there's nothing wrong in helping yourself. If you had a broken leg, you would go to the doctor and you get a cast on it. Anything in our outer body, if we're bleeding, we put a plaster on it. Whatever our external body needs, we're on it, no problem. Internally, the idea of getting any help internally or mentally is so taboo, and I know that in Derry as well, and especially with young men, not speaking or not talking about whatever it is that they're struggling with. But thank God it's becoming more common now that we get to talk and be able to share journeys and videos like this as well to help.